Once again, it's a privilege to be welcomed into your home. Today, we are reading from Mark chapter 7, verse 1 to 13. When the Pharisees with some scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus, they observed that some of his disciples ate their meals with unclean, that is, unwashed hands. For the Pharisees, and in fact all Jews, do not eat without carefully washing their hands, keeping the tradition of the elders. And on coming from the marketplace, they do not eat without purifying themselves. And there are many other things that they have traditionally observed: the purification of cups and jugs and kettles and beds. So the Pharisees and scribes questioned him, "Why do your disciples not follow the tradition of the elders, but instead eat a meal with unclean hands?" He responded, "Well, did Isaiah prophesy about you hypocrites, as it is written, 'You disregard God's commandment, but cling to human tradition.'" He went on to say, "How well have you set aside the commandment of God in order to uphold your tradition? For Moses said, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and whoever curses father or mother shall die. Yet you say, if someone says to father or mother, 'Any support you might have had from me is korban,' meaning dedicated to God, you allow him to do nothing more for his father or mother. You nullify the word of God in favor of your tradition that you have handed on, and you do many such things." Jesus makes a distinction between the commandment of God, the word of God, and human tradition. He accuses the Pharisees of giving more importance to their religious traditions than to the word of God. We all have traditions of one kind or another. We have traditional ways of doing things. The church too has its own traditional ways of doing things. The reading reminds us that the word of God must take priority over all human traditions, including religious traditions. The purpose of tradition should be to give expression to the word of God, to allow that word to take root in our own particular age and culture. It can happen that traditions that once served the purpose in the past may cease to do so in the present. When that happens, we have to allow the word of God to purify the traditions that have ceased to serve the word. We have to keep returning to the word of God, which in fact, the church's most ancient and authoritative tradition. Dear friends, the word of God remains alive and active throughout time. It works to peel away what is no longer serving the Lord in our own personal lives and in the life of our communities and institutions. Shalom. Peace.